Hello friends, I'm Ashley and today I'm going to be talking about my time with Riley Sager. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. So I thought I'd go in the order I read the books instead of publication order. I thought I'd go publication order because, kind of makes sense, but I'll just go the way I read it because it makes sense to me. So the first book I read by Riley Sager is his newest book, Home Before Dark. And the only thing I wrote down for Home Before Dark is smooth transitions. In this book, it flops between the main character's dad's book, because it's kind of like a book in a book, but it goes between her dad's book, which is like set in the past, and in the present day. And I have never seen such smooth transitions where it made sense the way it went. Like in the past they'd be looking up at the ceiling collapsing, and then in the future they'd be looking up at the ceiling collapsing, and it's like, wow, like I don't know how to explain it. It was just like it made sense to me in a way that most books that's set in the past in the present usually don't. Like I usually don't like reading books like this because a lot of things get confusing and misconstrued and just muddled, and like the way the past and the present were both very separate but very similar. I just loved it. I loved it. And I should probably tell you what even the book is about because all I've talked about is the transitions. Anyway, the main character inherits the house after her father dies, because he dies like a week before the book starts. And she didn't even know that he still owned this house. This house is a place that she lived with her mother and father when she was very young, and it was supposedly haunted. All she knows and all she remembers is fleeing in the middle of the night. She does not remember any ghosts. She does not remember any weird stories that her father wrote about in his book that he published. So she doesn't believe him. So she decides to go back to the house and renovate the house because it's like what she does for a living. She like flips houses. So she's like, oh, I'll just go there, fix it up and sell it, and maybe I can find some answers to why my father decided to make all these lies in this book. And the best way I can describe it is like in Haunting a Hill House, like the brother writes a book about this house that they all lived in. It was apparently haunted, but like honestly, that's the only similarities to Haunting a Hill House and Home Before Dark. It's hard to talk about books sometimes because I just want to say spoilers. I'm like, because this, and this, and it's like, okay, but no, you can't say that because it's a spoiler. I really liked Home Before Dark. I thought it was really fun. It did freak me out a little bit. Like I had to turn the lights on when I like walked around the house at night. They would play the Sound of Music song 16 Going on 17, and like it scared me in a way I don't understand why it did, but it kept getting stuck in my head and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get haunted. But anyway, yeah, it was really good. I highly recommend. So the next book I read is Final Girls by Riley Sager, and this is his debut, and like I don't understand why everyone hates this book so much. They're like, oh, I saw the plot twist like right away. Like, yeah, so what? It's still like a great journey. It's a slasher fic. I love slashers so much, especially like the final girl trope. There's like another book called Final Girls that like I'm definitely going to look at picking up next because I want to read that so bad. Like I love the little trope of final girls, but like the journey to the story was so fun, and like finding out who done it or like what's going on type thing, it was really fun. Like I just loved it. I love slasher fic. Can we talk about the plot, please, Ashley? So this book was about final girls. There are 3 of them. They don't really have that much in contact with each other. They are separate like cases, like different serial killers, different maniacs coming out with a knife trying to kill people, but they all connected because they have this similar situation of being in a tragedy of someone murdering a bunch of people, and they're the only ones that survived. And one of the girls dies, and it kind of starts off from there. And then one of the final girls dies. Another one comes to visit the main character, which she's a final girl. And they're just kind of like figuring out what's going on. There's a lot of weirdness happening. There's a lot of commentary on how people like treat victims of serious trauma. Like how, like they really talked about how like murder podcasts like really glorify these horrible things. And like I loved that because murder podcasts really sometimes just how these girls, like, they can never like really get over their trauma because they were foreverly being bombarded with just so much of people wanting them to talk about it and wanting them to get interviews, and like people finding their address and sending them weird fan mail. And like the main character talked about how like killers in prison would like be like, oh, I love you, we're gonna get married, or like I'll kill you because you're supposed to be dead. Like just like the absolute scariest messages you could ever have were sent to her. But yeah, I love this book. It hit every one of like my absolute favorite like thriller tropes. It just, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I don't care what anyone else says. So the next book I read was The Last Time I Lied, and I'm just gonna read off word for word what I wrote down. Quotation, "It's all my fault, sad face." Quotation, "Girl, shut up." Mentioned Gone Girl. I got that knowledge now, baby, because I recently read Gone Girl. It mentioned The Ring and Carrie. It like name dropped like every basic horror thing you've ever heard of. And then overall, just one of those books that make you mad about all the decisions made. And boy, oh boy, I cannot tell you how much I hated the main character in this book. It's like when you tell someone to take a left up at the intersection and they take a right on purpose just to like irritate you. That's what I just, yeah. But yeah, The Last Time I Lied is about a girl who goes back to the summer camp that she went to as a teenager, where 3 girls went missing, and she goes back to be a camp counselor. And first of all, that first choice was like a big red flag for me. Like, the camp closed after the 3 girls went missing. They were never found again. And the owner of the camp was like, oh, you accused my son of murdering those girls, but would you like to come back and be a camp counselor? You know, let's leave all that stuff in the past, water under the bridge. And I was like, no, say no. Why would you go back to that crazy place? I don't know. And she went back. Weird things ensued because, like, obviously they were going to. Creepy stuff starts happening. Weird stuff starts happening. Everyone starts blaming the main character. I hate when characters are so self-suffering. It wasn't for me. It was not for me. So the last book, obviously, is Lock Every Door, with this beautiful cover. I love this cover so much. Now, I got spoiled for this book like a couple months ago. I was told what was happening in this book, and it like definitely kind of ruined the experience. I feel like I would have liked it a lot more if I didn't know the major spoiler at the end, but I did. It was still like interesting, and I could definitely see why so many people like it, but just knowing what the spoiler was, like, it definitely ruined it for me. So this book is about a main character who apartment sits at this very rich and elite apartment, and she realizes that there are other apartment sitters, and apartment sitters of the past have gone missing, and there's a lot of similarities between her and the previous apartment sitters. It was just very interesting. The main character had like a favorite book, and the book was based on this building that she's apartment sitting for, and I thought that was kind of interesting. It added like a new aspect to the book, and it actually came into the plot later on. But like I said, I got spoiled. Like I knew it was happening to the house sitters, apartment sitters, and it definitely kind of like ruined it for me. Like, it was kind of interesting like seeing like the red herrings early on that I don't feel like I would have picked up on, maybe, I don't know. But it was still creepy. Like, there was some creep accents. There's still some creepy aspects that I wasn't expecting. Like, yeah, I knew the main plot twist at the end, but like I didn't know the journey to get there. Also, there's like history aspects that I thought was really fun. Like, I'm not an art history major, and I thought that was like kind of fun how history and like art were like interweaved with some of the plot. Like, I actually really like that. But yeah, overall, like, don't spoil people for thrillers. So I feel like I definitely enjoyed Riley Sager. I'm definitely going to pick up the books he releases in the future, because Home Before Dark was really good and Final Girls was really good. But yeah, it's kind of like split 50-50, because because of the spoiler aspect. Like, I know I would have liked that book if I hadn't been spoiled for it, but I had a good time overall. Like, I love thrillers. I love being spooked out and like creeped out and like trying to figure out what's happening, or if like you already know the plot points, like what makes it get there, you know. Like, I just love that stuff. But that's pretty much it, and I feel like I didn't make sense in this video. I've been talking for a while without the air conditioner on, and it's really hot in here. So I'm going to go and I'm going to sleep, because I sleep when I'm out in front of the camera. Bye!